buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com. Across the state of Alaska, excuse me, on this, your favorite radio station and/or FM translator. Hello and good morning to you, my friends. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to squeak you. Hey, welcome to the program. It is the Thursday edition of the Michael Dukes Show. Some of you down in the peninsula are like, wait, we missed Wednesday. I know. It's sorry about that. A little bit of technical difficulties down at the radio station there, but we're back, baby. We're back and we're ready to go. We're ready to talk about things, to see what you have to say. I was going to schedule some guests today. Who am I kidding? I was going to, but I didn't. And so I thought, why do we make lemonade out of those lemons? Because I didn't do my job. And talk with you, and also give you the latest recap on what's happening in the state of the legislative races. Because some of you down in the peninsula didn't hear about it, and I'm sure you've heard about it now. But we've got some updates. They did throw up some new numbers yesterday, about 3:00 yesterday afternoon. And so we do have some new numbers, including the fact that ranked choice voting edged up over the 50% mark, which is good news. We still have 13 precincts still yet to report. It went up about 3 percentage points from 93 to 96.77% of precincts reporting in, but we'll see. We'll see where that leaves us. But right now we are up over the mark on the ranked choice voting repeal. The current numbers laying out right now: 125,230 people said yes, 120,941 said no. So a difference of just under 5,000 votes right now, but it does put the yes repeal up at 50.87%, with the no at 49.13. Now, it's just a question of how these absentee and early votes that took place between Friday and Election Day, how they break, how the absentee ballots come in, how these other precincts, when these precincts that have yet to report their day of numbers, because again, we're still missing 13 precincts. I mean, I get a question. How in this day and age of technology, where I am literally broadcasting to the world on the internet, while I'm doing a radio show, simulcasting it together at the same time, how in the world is it possible that we are 2 full days beyond Election Day? Well, one in part. How is it that we're 1 full day beyond Election Day and we still don't know at least the preliminary numbers of what these precincts did? I find that we could talk to people at the International Space Station and they could probably cast their vote from there. But for some reason, we can't get the information for days. I'm just wondering. Just wondering. But we're going to go through some of this stuff with this new updated list. And we're going to talk about the new predictions the new predictions, the new majorities. These people wasted no time. Majorities have already been announced, even with some races still in contention. Majorities have already been announced. And I can tell you right now, the next 2 years are not going to be any fun. I mean, it's just not going to be, it's just not going to be any fun. It really isn't. We're going to get into that. But most importantly, I want to hear from you. Why? Because the election season, I mean, I guess it's not technically over until they certify the race. So technically we've got another 23 days, but I mean, the main election season is over. Doesn't that make you feel good? Doesn't that just give you a warm fuzzy? It does me. I mean, I'm feeling good about that. So, we'll see. We'll see. Terry just said in the chat room, and I was not aware of this. I did not look. I'll be honest. I did not look at the ballots or the results that were missing from which areas. I'm assuming that most of these are rural areas. But Terry just said something, and I forgot that Wasilla they're not using machines. They're using hand counting. And Terry said Wasilla still hasn't counted all ballots yet. They were too unorganized to do it yesterday, maybe today. Terry's a poll watcher, I think. I mean, or she's an observer, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Terry. But if that's the case, that actually might be some good news, because for some of the things that we are in the program here are pulling for, because that's more conservative stuff, and we might be getting some more conservative votes out of Wasilla. But we'll have to see. It's just the borough votes, right? Okay, thank you, Rick. It was state ballots. Oh, okay, all right. I'm getting all kinds of information in the chat room right now this morning, so I'll try and keep you all updated on everything. For those of you who aren't watching in the chat room, I'll try and keep you all updated. We'll also talk about ranked choice voting across the country. Ronald Bailey over at Reason Magazine has got an interesting article up about this right now, because baby, it failed outside. I mean, it was just a train wreck, an absolute train wreck for the ranked choice voting folks. I don't know how much money they poured into all these various races across the country, but it was gazillions. It was gobs of money. So we'll talk about that. We've got new talk about a new Musk caucus, the Senate coalition. What else? Oh, one of the Anchorage Borough Assembly members showed up dressed like one of the chicks from The Handmaid's Tale. If you've seen that, you know what I'm talking about. The red cloak with the white bonnet thing. She showed up to an assembly meeting dressed like that, apparently as a protest over the whole vote thing, which I thought was, that's very adult of you. There's just so much to talk about. But again, I'm sorry, I got way late. I am like a squirrel this morning. Or is that a dog looking at a squirrel? Phone number is 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. If you would like to call in, I would love to talk with you today about your thoughts on everything that's going on, or everything that's been announced, or the results, or just your relief on the fact that the election is mostly over. Whatever you want to do, I would love to be privy to it with a phone call. So and I'm I'm kind of just open to any phone calls and discussions today on any topic. So feel free to dial us up today and get your voice in the queue and see what you have to say. 319-527-3864. 864. You can also, I suppose, I'm not very good at this usually during the show because I'm not paying that close of attention, but you can always send me an email, me at MichaelDukesShow.com, me at MichaelDukesShow.com. You could drop me an email there, or if you go to my website, you can leave me, there's a contact button there, and it also goes into my email. So any way that you'd like to do that, feel free to doctor it up and send it on over to me, and we can talk about it there as well. Coming up tomorrow on the program, it's going to be Firearms Friday. And tomorrow, I need to double check my calendar to make sure that I'm going to say this right. I don't want to say it if it's not true. You know, I hate it when that happens. Yeah, that's right. Tomorrow on the program, it's power packed. Tomorrow, not only do we have our monthly interview with Chris Chang, Top Shot champion from season 4 of the television show Top Shot, but in hour 1 of Firearms Friday, tomorrow, we're going to be talking to the Pew Pew Jew. Yehuda Remmer is going to be joining us on the program tomorrow. The Pew Pew Jew, that's what he calls himself on Instagram. He is a well-known gun culture celebrity. And we're going to talk with him about, we'll talk with him about the race. We'll talk with him about gun rights and his position on it. And, from his perspective, anyway, it's going to be a wide ranging conversation for a full hour, and it will be, it'll be a good show tomorrow. That all starts at 6 a.m. tomorrow across the state here, right where you are right now. So there you go. Let's do it. Frank just said, I wore a Blaze orange vest and my son wore a trash bag to vote. Are we not also acting as adults? Somebody's going to have to explain the whole trash bag thing to me. I saw several people comment on that, like election day, something about wearing trash bags. It's just because we're garbage people. Is that what the comment is supposed to mean? The Blaze orange thing, I don't know. Look, you do you. People showed up at election day. There were plenty of people around the country that a lot of women showed up dressed as Handmaid's Tale characters, the women in okay, now how that is, I guess that's a form of protest that you weren't wearing your MAGA hat or your Harris Waltz hat. I guess that's not politicking or electioneering, but okay. If you want to cosplay and LARP, that's fine. I've got, you do you, baby. You do you. But I just thought it was funny that this gal decided, is it Karen Bonga? Is that who it was? I'm trying to remember who the name of I think it was, Bronga. It's Karen Bronga. She's the one that showed up at the assembly meeting as an assemblywoman representing her constituency, dressed as a handmaid. Okay, man. All right, you do you, boo. You do you. All right, let's take a break, and we'll come back and we'll start off into some of this other stuff. Hopefully we get some phone calls this morning, because I would like to talk to you about, not just what I feel about the election. This show is all about me, but it's also about you. I can't make it all about me all the time, can I? Maybe I can. Let me think about that. All right, we'll be back with more in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll return in just a moment. Don't go anywhere.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. Well, hopefully, Peninsula stations went to commercial break there. Hopefully, they jumped to the break. We'll see how that goes. Oh, Joe Biden says Trump voters are trash. Okay. All right. So there you go. Whatever. I just, Like, I care. The Pew Pew Jew, not to be confused with the Bazooka Jew. Yes, that's true. That is true. L, that is 100% true. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. Yeah, the next legislature needs your PFD to pay for defined benefits, $1 million more for K-12 with no accountability, more handouts to nonprofits. Look for a tax and no PFD. Yeah, that's pretty much what I think. Yep. I think that is the way it's going to be. Well, I'm sorry. I'm reading Richie's post here. I'm like, what? Richie said, I also heard that thousands of Harris supporters, females in their 30s, have vowed not to date or have sex and shave their heads in protest. Not kidding. It was reported on Salem News Network. That's already thousands of babies that won't be aborted. Trump is already turning things around and he hasn't even taken office yet. I mean, I'm like, okay, you're not going to reproduce? Great. I mean, more for us to do, right? I mean, don't look at the squirrel as the government may mistake you for Peanut the squirrel and euthanize you. It was just the dumbest thing, man. I mean, seriously. The New York Department of whatever it was so proud that they went out and they took this back, and then they faced this huge backlash. Anthony said, I'm just glad the election season is over. I managed to get into the chat room without the internet giving me 45 Peltola ads before I got to the chat room. Yeah. Yep. I'm sorry. I apologize for the delay. David says, check out this language on ballot measure number 1. In this section 1, political matters mean matters related to election for political office, political parties, candidates, proposed legislation or regulations, and the decision whether or not to join or support a political party or political, civic, communal, fraternal, or labor organization. Question, could this have an effect on government unions? Maybe. I mean, it'll definitely have an effect on any small business that may be faced with union organization or even fraternal. What if you wanted to talk about joining the Shriners or the Masons or the Elks or the Moose, right? I mean, what if you wanted to talk about that? Can't talk about that at work now. Sorry. Did you hear that? That was my stomach. Holy cow. Okay. It feels good. The lack of the political season feels good. At the same time, there is a now what, because we have to figure out how to deal with the broken people. Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's true. What's going on? Okay. I think I'm caught up. I think I'm finally caught up here. All right. How is Scooter going to get Murkowski elected now? Write-in may work again. No RCV. Well, let's hope. Let's hope that the RCV holds their let's see. Let's hope that that it holds on to its lead there. Harold Bueller. Got 4 words into a post, a partial thought, and received a Facebook warning. Hey, that's there you go. That's the Department of Pre-Crime. Facebook is like the Department of Pre-Crime on Minority Report, right? That is it right there. All right, we just rejoined Fairbanks a little early. Why? Well, apparently because, hi, folks, how are you? Apparently because the election's over and they ran out of commercials. So we've just rejoined Fairbanks a little bit early. You guys get just a peek behind the scenes. I'm just going through some of the comments in the chat room today. That means we're about to actually return to the radio. But we're going to go. We're going to go ahead here and jump back into it. If you missed this, like, share, subscribe, ring the bell on Facebook, YouTube, or Rumble, wherever you're at. Let's get back to it. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Let's go, Brad. Let's go.
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Huh. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going down. Here's Michael Dukes and the show.
Okay. So, welcome back. We are ready to go. And we're ready to go and discuss how things went for this last election. I will say that I'm a little frustrated over some of the things that took place during the election. I'm glad it's over. But I was having an interesting conversation with a cohort yesterday, and we were talking about the election in general. And I'll let you in on a little secret. I don't mind the ranked choice voting component of our current system, where you get to choose multiple candidates. It's got some frustrating aspects to it. It definitely complicates the whole thing. I don't mind it too much. What I really mind is the open jungle primary, because it really confuses. And on paper, it's great because it allows everybody to participate. But again, as we talked about in the past, in principle, because you're dealing with political parties that have kind of battling philosophies, one kind of a philosophy of kumbaya and all for the team, and we'll only put one candidate up, and the other party of rugged individualists who don't play well together. I'm talking about you Republicans. That's where kind of the ideology or the it works on paper thing kind of breaks down, right? So that's really the biggest part of the problem. But I will say I did enjoy having the ability to vote for my Libertarian Party candidate and to have a protest vote for RFK Jr. because of the way he was treated by the establishment. Even though I didn't agree with everything he said, he was a refreshing candidate in many ways. And so I got a chance to vote for him second, and then I voted for Donald Trump. So I got to have my cake and eat it too. That is kind of a cool. If they had only repealed the jungle primary part of this, I would be satisfied. But it didn't happen, and that's okay. That's okay. Ranked choice voting across the country took it on the chin this go around. Absolutely. They got, what is it, slogs? Hogs get slaughtered, pigs get fat, slogs, I don't know, hogs get slaughtered, whatever it is. They got just butchered across the, they just got crushed out there. Ronald Bailey over at Reason Magazine has got an article up about this, and I found it kind of to be just interesting. The the majorities in 9 states basically have voted to maintain these bipartisan elections. Now, I know a lot of libertarians are in favor of ranked choice voting because it busts the toehold on the two-party system. And I know as a libertarian, that's always frustrated me that we have this two-party system. But in fairness, at the same time, I feel like you're a club. I mean, the Republican Party is a club. The Democratic Party is a club. The AIP, that's a club, right? You're associating together for a common goal. You want to do something. You're a darts team, you know. You're a softball team. And so, in all fairness, you should be able to choose the members of your party that will represent you on a bigger stage, right? I mean, it wouldn't be fair if members of the opposing team were able to pick your starting pitcher for a softball or starting hitter for a softball game, if they knew that the bat boy could go up there and he can't hardly swing the bat, and they're like, yeah, we choose him. Right? So it doesn't make any sense for the opposing team to be able to pick you want to put your strongest player, your strongest person up there. So there are some, while there's some good ideas behind ranked choice voting, as far as trying to open up and break the chokehold on the two-party system, it also doesn't make sense. And in fairness, it's not fair to organizations to allow people from outside the organization to either pick their members or people who aren't really parts of their organization to represent them as well. In the case of many instances, we saw that people who were not a member of the party took on the moniker and went and ran anyway. I'm looking at you, Joy Beth Cottle, right? They never had a Republican thought in their life, and right before the election, they went ahead and they joined and they did it. So it creates some real, and that never would have happened if there had been a real partially closed primary, because you wouldn't have survived the primary to make it to the general election. You wouldn't have general elections with 3 or 4 Republicans in one race. That's just, So, like I said, while I enjoyed the ranked choice voting component of it because I was able to actually vote my conscience and not have to sweat it and do everything else, it's really the open primary, the jungle primary thing that really kind of throws everything for a loop. But across the country, there were 8 states and the District of Columbia that had ranked choice voting on the ballot. And Alaska had of course, the repeal to restore it back to what it was. And then there was a law there was a measure in Missouri that would prohibit ranked choice voting altogether. Just boom, make it totally illegal. And you, my friends, will be very surprised with the results, especially in some of these states. And we're going to talk about that here as we go forward. But I did get a phone call here, so we're going to get started with our phones to begin with, and we'll see what you guys have to say. 319-527-3864. Let's go over here to the phones and see who it is. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Michael. This is James from Cassaw.
Good morning, James. What's on your mind?
Well, what position Kennedy's gonna be in?
I do not know what position RFK Jr. is going to take. I think he was offered some kind of, wasn't it? It was something to do with health and the environment. I'm not sure exactly what position he's going to take. He's going to have a position in the Trump administration somewhere.
Yeah, it's going to be in health. He's gonna take care of the FDA,
which would not hurt my feelings. I mean, the FDA definitely needs some help, and it needs some oversight. I definitely believe that.
Yep, and Elon Musk is gonna take over, getting rid of as much garbage as he can in the government. I liked. It's really sad that we lost Ben Carpenter. I wish he would have stayed in this position.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I spoke with Ben yesterday a little bit, and he's pretty sanguine about it and realizes that everything happens for a reason. So we'll see where it goes from here. But that was that's a tough loss. I counted that as, when I said yesterday we were going over this, and I said that we're going over the good, the bad, and the ugly. What I counted as the ugly of the election was, 1, the passage of ballot measure number 1, and 2, the loss of Ben Carpenter. That was my 2 ugly moments of the campaign.
Yeah, that's very good. That's very ugly. I pray to God we lose this ranked choice voting. They kept saying on the radio that it was going to be for the president too, and I wasn't quite following that until I got to the voting booth and I saw, holy shit, there's 20 presidents available here.
Right. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate your call. You gotta watch the language out there. Thank you so much for being part of it today. 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. If you would like to sound off, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to give us a shout and see what you have to say here on election day. Yeah, I mean, there were a dozen candidates for president on that list. I mean, I only ranked 3, but you could have ranked up to 4 and never even gotten to the main contenders at that point. Not that any of that really matters. I mean, at this point, my vote for President Trump didn't even count, right? Because he went over the 30% threshold. And so my vote, I think, has pretty much stayed with Chase Oliver the whole time. So it is what it is. It is what it is. But we'll see what happens with that. Brian in the chat room said the libertarian side of me likes the ranked choice voting and appreciates the intent, but seeing that mass influx of outside money, yeah, again, the problem is ranked choice voting in theory is good. Again, it works out well on paper until you inject the additional variables of outside dark money, of the philosophies of the different parties. I mean, and you could say that we learn, right? Because you saw what happened in the first ranked choice voting race where Mary Peltola was elected. The Republicans just beat the hell out of each other for, however many weeks it was, Begich and Palin and everything else. And they ended up basically splitting the vote and allowing Peltola to waltz in. And the second go around, all the Republicans but Begich basically dropped out of the race. All the top Republicans just dropped out of the race. That was smart. That was very smart. And you saw the reactions of the Democrats was to panic and immediately try to go to the courts to have another Democrat that was on the ticket removed. But it is what it is. But that's the thing. There's a difference between theory and reality. In theory, this all works out really well. In reality, it's a totally different critter. Now, across the country, this idea of ranked choice voting, again, was up in front of 8 states plus the district, and then Missouri had one that was not an actual question of whether it's just a prohibition. And it went down in flames. In fact, the only place that ranked choice voting was adopted with semi-open primaries, not jungle primaries like we have, but semi-open like we used to have, which would, to me, again, would have worked here just fine. But Washington, D.C. adopted it by 73%. That's the only place ranked choice voting got any love in the entire country. In Colorado, of all places, blue Colorado, ranked choice voting was rejected 55%. Arizona had 2 different propositions, and both were rejected, 59% and 58% respectively. Idaho, 69% rejection of ranked choice voting. Montana, 52%. There was also a constitutional amendment in Montana that would require a majority vote to win state and federal elections. That was rejected by 61%. Nevada rejected their ranked choice voting, 54%. Oregon, of all places, I mean, blue Oregon, ranked choice voting in the primary and general elections for federal and state offices was rejected, 60%. South Dakota rejected it by 66%. Missouri, where they had an amendment on their for their constitution. It was an amendment to their constitution to prohibit ranked choice voting. It passed by 69%. And then, of course, here in Alaska, still too close to call, 50-point 50 point. What's the current number? Well, the current number is 50.87% yes right now, with still more precincts to count and everything else. And there was a lot of push behind this. There was a lot of money across the country that was poured into these races. And it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here. All right, we've got more coming up, and the phone lines are open at 319-527-3864, 319-527-3864. I'll be answering some questions in the chat room. Rick just asked me a question before we go to break here. He says, being that Nick didn't get the 50+1, please explain the next step. Okay, I will. We'll be explaining that next step here in just a moment, and we'll see if I can make it as clear as mud for those of you out there who want to check it out. We will be back with more. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We return with more here in just a moment. We'll be back on your home for Common Sense Radio.
Listened to by more staffers in Juneau than any other show because their bosses told them to. And after what they just heard, oh man, they're going to be pissed.
You're a bad, bad man.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay. Okay. Already things are changing. He's got a Gateway Pundit article, which I can't follow the link to, but I'll go check that out later, David. Thank you. Let me see. Can I load this window? I'm going to try and load this window here to see what can I see it? Can I see it? Hey, there we go. Let me follow this Gateway Pundit thing. I had it open in another window. Top 5 big pharma CEOs hold emergency teleconference after Trump's landslide victory threatens grip on America. Yeah, because they're going to because Robert F. Kennedy is not a fan of big pharma, and they're going to put him in charge of some stuff over there. And so the pharma companies are pooping their pants. They are pooping their pants. So we'll see. Kennedy says, President Trump has asked me to do 3 things: clean up the corruption in our government health agencies, return those agencies to their rich tradition of gold standard evidence-based science, make America healthy again by ending chronic illness or chronic disease epidemic. Then James Hawley says, if RFK asked me which meeting I'd like to attend, I'd politely say the one with you and Bill Gates. Oh, man. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that article. You guys can follow the link yourself on that if you want to go there. All right. Yeah. So we're going to talk about where things are going in the legislature here in a bit, before we get too far along here. But Nick didn't get 50+1. Okay. So Nick is at where's he at right now? The latest and greatest, 49.53. So what they immediately do in the next round is they take the lowest vote earner, the one with the fewest votes, and they redistribute the people who voted for, in this case, it would be Eric Hafner, and they redistribute those. They take those votes, and then they look at the ballots and say, okay, who did you vote for in the second round as your second choice? And then they redistribute those votes. So, for example, I know that Nick is going to go up at least 1 or 2 votes because I know that both Brian and I ranked Eric Hafner first, because just because. I was saying it was because the Great Burke Institute said usually it's your second choice that makes it in there, but I thought it was so funny that the Democrats were so mad about Hafner getting on there that I just figured I'd vote for him first, because I knew he was going to lose and that my second vote would go to the candidate that I really wanted, in this case, Nick Begich. So Hafner's votes, 2,485 of them, will be if everybody, assuming that everybody who filed Hafner in as their first choice also had a second choice, those votes will then be distributed, and then they'll retally. If that pushes Begich over the top of 50%, then it's done. If it doesn't, then they'll take John Wayne Howe's votes and ballots, and because he'll be now the lowest vote earner, and they will look at the second choices on his thing, and it will go on and on and on and on. And oh, by the way, the people who voted for Hafner first, if they voted, for example, John Wayne Howe second, well, that won't matter, because then they would go to the third choice, because John Wayne Howe's vote has now been eliminated, and so that's when they go to the third choice. Is this making any sense? Do I need a slide rule to make all this work? There you go. So anyway, that's what's going to happen, Rick. We're not going to know until all the absentee ballots are in, until all the early votes are counted, until everything gets squared away. And we'll see. Yeah, it makes my head hurt, says Greg. I mean, if I had it on a whiteboard, there'd be lines and arrows going everywhere, right? But it really is interesting. We'll see. Anthony says, I'm hoping that Elon actually creates the Department of Government Efficiency, and laughing that Trump didn't catch him becoming the head of Dogecoin. Shiba Inu, right? That's the Dogecoin. That was a internet meme that Elon Musk got involved in. Anyway. Okay. When will reports about Begich race come in? Well, they've been updating it shortly. We got a few more reports, but they're still missing 13 precincts. So we'll know more once those precincts are reported in, and then we'll go up from there. Here we go.
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Huh. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going down. Here's Michael Dukes and the show.
Okay, well, I attempted to explain to Rick exactly what's going on with the Begich vote, and then he's like, I'm so confused. So if you want me to try to explain it to you as well out there on the radio audience, feel free to call me up, 319-527-3864, and ask me to explain it to the best of my ability. I will explain it to you, how it's supposed to work, how it's supposed to work, okay? Because I mean, if, like I just said, I just told the people in the chat room that if I had to do this on a whiteboard, there would be arrows going everywhere, because it is a little confusing. There's no two ways about it. And apparently Brian and I weren't the only two rebels out there. Sandy said, I voted for Nick second after Hafner. Hafner first, Nick second. I wonder how many of these 2,485 votes for Eric Hafner were people who were doing it as a protest or on a whim. I did it as kind of a protest of the Democratic Party. They're like, this guy shouldn't be on here. You guys were the one that were supporting this whole thing. You guys were gleefully watching Begich and Palin just tear at each other last go around. And now you're upset that another Democrat is in the race, and you just, but statistically, this is Nick's race to lose at this point. But if you'd like me to explain how this whole thing is going to go out, I can attempt it again. Maybe I should get a whiteboard. and show you what's going on. But let's go to the telephones here and see what you have to say. 319-527-3864. We go over here. Good morning. Who's this and where are you calling from?
This is Ben.
Hey,
I'm calling from down on the peninsula.
Hey, Ben, what's on your mind today?
Well, I don't really have too much to say about, the ranked choice voting. I mean, I voted yes on 2. I voted for Trump, but I guess maybe you can't talk about it. I don't know, but I want your take on how you think this country's going to go now that Trump's been elected. I mean, for me, this is my first time I voted in my life. So, and I'm 51. And it's mostly because of the alphabet people and the woke movement, and the woke movement kind of divided my family, kind of turned a couple of my kids against me. So now that it's in the Republican basket, what's your opinion? Where do you think this is going to go as far as, should we start, worrying about internal chaos? If you can kind of see where I'm going with it.
Right, Ben. Well, first and foremost, congratulations for voting for the first time. You're 51. You've never voted before. This motivated you to get up there and do that? Yeah. Okay. Well, I've made no secret of the fact that I am not a huge fan of Donald Trump. Okay. He is he is in this case better, in my opinion, than the alternative. My main hope for the Trump administration is that he doesn't attempt to deliver on a bunch of the promises that he made, including the weaponization of the courts, of the tariffs that he's talked about, the terrible tariffs that he talked about, because he doesn't seem to understand that you can't that we the people would pay for those tariffs, not the Chinese. We would pay it in higher prices. I hope that he had a lot of campaign rhetoric that he won't be able to deliver on, because that's what happened last time, is he had a lot of campaign rhetoric that wasn't able to be delivered on, and that's okay. I think that the most troubling thing about this election that I would say in regards to this is that a lot of his speech and verbiage had very authoritarian underpinnings, and people seem to embrace that. And that worries me, right? That does worry me. But I think it's still better than the alternative.
Like, so when Kamala gave her, Kamala, however you pronounce her name, she gave her final speech when she finally came out of her bedroom, she kept interjecting, we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep, I know we're fairly safe up here in Alaska from all the chaos that goes on down there. I think, is maybe not so much in politics or economy, but, I guess I'm not a prepper, but I have been preparing for, whether it be a major earthquake or, a civil war, what's your take on that? That's where I'm kind of going with this.
Well, there was a lot of punditry that was talking about, had undertones of civil war, who wins and what happens. And, look, I have always believed in being prepared for anything, whether it was the zombie apocalypse or if it was a simple earthquake and flood or, whatever. I've always believed in being prepared. I think that preparedness brings peace to you, right? So you should prepare to the extent that it brings you peace. Now, if that means building a bunker under your house, I mean, maybe that's what it is. Or maybe it's just putting some food away and having some backup and some medical supplies and, some firearms to defend it. That's fine. You choose what it is.
Right.
Do I think that we're going to have some kind of massive uprising across the country? At this point, I'm a little dubious. I think that was more talking heads than anything else. And I know she's using the fight rhetoric. I know I saw that in her speech there at the end, that she was talking about we're going to keep fighting. But the bottom line is the left they use the rhetoric, but they're ineffective in the actual in the execution of it. I don't see that happening right now. I think that it was supposed to be one of the closest races in history. All the punditry said so. But when it was all said and done, even Kamala admitted that, wait, this was not as close as we thought it was going to be, kind of thing. And that's surprising. I think they're starting to see that more Americans just want, they don't want what the Democrats have been serving on a platter, right? And they don't necessarily want
Right,
what Trump is
exactly,
serving,
yeah.
but at least it's more palatable at this point. So, I mean, should we be concerned about it? I don't know if we should be concerned, but it's always good to be prepared just in case of anything, right?
Yeah.
You know, right? Just the
Right. Yep.
the old Latin phrase of in omnia paratus means I'm ready for anything. That's what you need to be. And
Yep.
you know, so
Yep.
so
exactly.
you prepare to the level that you're comfortable with and deal with it. But like you said, the one good thing about being in Alaska is we're pretty isolated from most of that stuff. We're not in the suburbs
Right.
of Chicago or Los Angeles or something. So we probably won't have to deal with that too much. But we should always be ready, especially since we're on the end of the supply chain up here. We should always be ready
Yeah,
for some
yeah.
kind of interruption, solar flare, or meteor shower or something
Right.
that disrupts the thing. Having a little, a little on the side is always brings peace of mind. But so
Right.
that's
Yep. Exactly.
that's
Okay.
my
Well, thank you for your take on it.
well. Thank you.
And I enjoy your show. I listen to it every morning.
Well, I appreciate that, Ben. Thank you. And congratulations again on actually voting. I think that's important. And I know sometimes people, why did you just throw your hands up in the air and decided to never vote because you didn't think your vote mattered, or you didn't want to participate because it felt dirty? Why didn't you vote up
Well,
until now?
I guess kind of like me. For me, it's I've never won a game of bingo in my life. So it's like I always felt like it doesn't matter who I vote for. I'm probably not going to get what I want anyway. So
Right. Okay. So you felt kind of like your vote didn't really matter and you weren't going to win in that regard. I can see
Right.
that. But
Right.
hopefully
Yep.
you'll participate in the local elections. That's the important ones, man. You're right. In the presidential elections, we really have no real say. But in the local elections,
No.
you do have control of those, my friend. So continue voting. Thank you for being part of it today.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you calling in. That's Ben calling in from the peninsula, which leaves all four lines open at 319-527-3864. First time he's voted. First time. 51 years old, never voted. Obviously, it was to him the most important election of his lifetime. To me, the most important election is the one that elects the people who are right here in my community. So you can have a say in those things. But congratulations to Ben to actually going out there and doing things. Now we got to wait and see what promises are going to be delivered on. What promises are going to be delivered on? We'll find out more about that. All right, we got one more line on hold, but we're out of time for this hour. Caller, hold the line. We'll be right back to you after the news at the top of the hour. We'll return with phone calls. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of questions as to what Trump is actually going to try and deliver. I mean, he did the same thing the last go around. Many presidents do that. There's a lot of rhetoric. Kamala Harris was pitching the idea of a unrealized capital gains tax, which means if you had $100,000 in investments, and over the course of the year you made $15,000 or $20,000 in gains on those investments. You didn't take anything out, you just left the money sit there as your nest egg, right? They were going to tax you on the unrealized gains on that. It was a hot mess. I read several analyses of it. It was like these guys are like, oh, stay so far away from this. And the thing is, you didn't get a credit if you lost money, but you had to pay on the unrealized gains of money you had. I mean, that never would have worked. It was a way to try and capture some money from, richer people or whatever. But I mean, it wouldn't have made any sense whatsoever. That was another, kind of rhetorical thing that they were just throwing out there. So, I mean, yeah, he said a lot of things that I hope don't come true. That's the bottom line. I hope that he said a lot of things, that the tariffs, 20% tariffs on some of these things. Again, and I just don't understand how Trump, as a businessman, as a landlord, he's a property mogul, right? I mean, as a landlord, you'd think you would understand if somebody starts charging you taxes on your property, you pass that cost on to your tenants, right? You as a landlord, out of the goodness of your heart, don't eat those new taxes. You pass those costs on to your tenant. Now, it may take 3 to 5 years or however long your leases are or whatever, but you pass that on to your tenants. How does he think tariffs work? China's not just going to eat the tariffs on those things. They're going to pass it on in the cost of the goods. It just makes, that it's just crazy. Anyway, there you go. I'm sorry. In Alaska legislature, promise delivery from the minority is virtually impossible. I don't know what promise delivery. I don't know what you mean there, Kevin. We'll get into that. I do have one line on hold. Let me go talk to this caller real quick to make sure that they're going to stick on through the news here. We got about 4 minutes. Caller, who's this? Where are you calling from?
That's Sean calling from Fairbanks.
Okay, Sean, you want to hold on and I'll take your call right at the top of the show?
Sure.
Okay, hold the line then. Sean in Fairbanks. We'll be right back to Sean here in just a minute. Okay. Layla says, my objection to ranked choice voting is that an algorithm hides the actual calculations, which would make it relatively easy for an unpopular candidate to win through algorithmic manipulation. I think everyone in this chat suspects that's how Lisa Murkowski held onto her seat this time. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of murkiness that goes on behind. Get it? Murky. There's a lot of murky stuff that goes on behind the scenes on that, like I said, you're trying to figure it out, and you need a slide rule and a supercomputer to be able to calculate it on, 260,000 ballots. So it's going on. I think it was 100 million plus in unrealized gains. I think it was 100 million plus in investments, not in the unrealized gains. You were making any gains were covered, but you had to have a base. I think it was $1 million. I don't think it was 100 million. I think it didn't happen anyway, but it was a ridiculous idea. That's the thing. That's the thing. Okay, I'm going through here. I found out Harold couldn't even get support in one of his own household. He found out one of my family members said, I didn't vote for you. You'd go to Juneau and I want you home. Oh, man. Stay off my lawn. Hashtag get off my lawn. Yep. All right. Anthony says, I'm not worried about an insurrection from the extreme left. They don't believe in guns or violence. Just saying. Yeah, exactly. It was hard for many to check the Trump box, but better than the alternative, and those votes, along with other demographics that didn't vote red before, gave Trump the seat. Yeah, I mean, did you see what happened in the Black and Latino communities, especially among Black and Latino males? I mean, in some communities, Biden had taken the votes by like 60%, like 50, 60%. And Kamala took some of these areas. She still won them, but she won them with half of the same. I mean, it was tough. It was tough. I just think that a lot of people are getting sick and tired of what the Democratic Party is trying to sell. And even the MSNBC and some of the other mainstream outlets are basically saying that the reason Kamala lost is because we hate women. We hate women, or we're afraid of their power. That's what it was. Couldn't have anything. Oh, or that she was black, although she's not. She's Indian, but apparently she's colored. So it's or a person of color or whatever. That's why she lost. Which it couldn't have anything to do with the fact that we hated her policies or we hated her, her positions or her philosophy. It had to be that it was because she was a woman, right? That's why. Kevin says, isn't the point of tariffs to make Chinese goods more expensive so American will buy U.S.? So you want government controlling you? You're trying to behavior modification through taxation? so that we have to spend more, which means it's going to cost American taxpayers more. One of the institutes basically put that up there and said if that his tariffs went through, it would cost the American consumers over $600 billion a year more to buy the same things that they're buying now. Does that make sense? No? Okay.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Hey there, hi there, ho there. Welcome back to the program. It's hour 2 of the big radio show, The Michael Dukes Show, broadcasting across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator, and live around the world on the internet, on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, and of course my own website, michaeldukeshow.com. Just go out there and find us out there, and we'll talk about things. We've been talking about the election, post-election stuff. The Peninsula didn't hear us yesterday, so we're repeating a little bit of what came out yesterday, but with some new twists and new nuances. We're also taking phone calls, 319-527-3864. Sean is on the line up from Fairbanks. Let's see what he has to say. He held on through the news. Good morning, Sean. What's on your mind?
Good morning. So do you know what the tariffs are from Canada to the U.S.?
Do I know what are from Canada?
If the tariffs. You know what all the other countries' tariffs are?
Yeah. Okay. I do not know what all the other countries' tariffs are off the top of my head.
So if we sell something to Canada, it's a 25% tariff. If they sell something to us, it's a 5%, sometimes 3 or 4. So all he's doing is matching theirs.
Well, in some
so
cases,
what happens when he goes, "Oh, okay, you want to play?" He goes, "You bring yours down, or we're going to bring ours up." "Oh, we're not bringing ours down." "Okay, here's ours. Now ours matches yours." They go, "Oh, crap, never mind," and theirs comes down. It happened last time he was in office. So he doesn't actually want to raise the tariffs. He wants them to bring theirs down.
Right.
That's common sense.
Right. In some cases, you're right. But again, with China, I was just talking about this during the break, the cost to the American citizens, because sometimes it works when you get into this pissing match of my tariffs are bigger than your tariffs. Sometimes it doesn't. And in some of the numbers he was talking about were pretty large. In fact, they said it would cost the American public $600 billion more to buy the things that they're buying already. And we're talking about things that, things like steel and some other things. What?
Do you remember what the cost of TVs used to be? You used to be able to go in there and buy that new 72-inch TV for $4,999, right? Now you can get them for $1,000.
Right. Well,
that's what the tariffs did.
Well, TVs,
so the
cost
of everything went down because of that kind of stuff. All the Chinese crap that we buy, all those costs came down. Everything's super cheap. Everybody's going through Amazon. Everybody's going through.
Well, but that's not necessarily the case, Sean, because TVs is actually an outlier. TVs are one of the few consumer products that have actually gone down, and we get most of our TVs from Korea, not China. So that's the other thing. LG, Samsung, all those companies.
Same thing.
They're all Korean. No, it's not the same thing.
Tariffs were put on.
But they
brought theirs down.
That's also a technology thing. Again, TVs are an outlier. You need to set TVs aside because other consumer goods.
It was a simple example.
Okay. All right.
You should look up what the other countries' tariffs are before ripping on him for what he's doing.
I'm not ripping on. Wait a second. So you're taking this personal. I'm not ripping on him. I'm saying that
No, not at all.
He said a lot of.
Know what the other people's tariffs are. Right.
Okay.
Before you talk about how bad ours are going to be.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sean.
He doesn't actually want to raise the tariffs.
Well, I that's the thing. Like I said, what I was saying was he says a lot of things, I think, to get the reaction or to to telegraph what he's going to do, that doesn't mean he's actually going to do it. That's what I was saying. That was the point that I was making. He did the same thing in the last election, and it did cause people to react. So again, what I was saying is it's more of a bluff than it is an actual thing. Because if he did put some of the tariffs on, it could have some real effects on the economy. So you are right in that regard that he didn't really want to put them on, but that's not what he's saying. He says he wants to. Although I agree with you, I think in some ways he says things that he doesn't really believe or doesn't agree with because it forces other people's hands and makes them move in a different direction.
Correct.
Yeah. All right, Sean. Thank you for your call. I appreciate you calling in here and talking with us here. I'm sorry, Story is blowing up my phone this morning. Now is the time to be rejoicing in what always made America great. The rising tide will float your boat, but you've got to paddle. Golden age of America. That's what's happening. Success and winning. It's what's for dinner. Story's over here having a victory lap on his own. I'm sure we'll be talking about that next week with Chris Story. Maybe we'll get Chris to come in for an extra segment and do his own analysis of where things are going on this next Tuesday before he gives us the positivity segment. All right, so we have been basking in some of the good news from the election. We have been basking in some of the good news, but there's also some bad news. There is some bad news. One of the things that obviously is just sad, and when I said yesterday that it was the good, the bad, the ugly of the election turnout was two different things. First and foremost, ballot measure number 1, which is the ballot that they called it the minimum wage ballot. Although the minimum wage component was really one of the least compelling thing, one of the least problematic things on that ballot. It also had guaranteed paid leave or paid vacation for employees of small businesses that were full-time employees, and which is again with no ideas of what the costs of that were going to be. And then the third component of it was a prohibition on workplace discussions from the employers, making it mandatory to discuss politics or religion. And David this morning pointed out an interesting piece of this when he talked about the actual language on the ballot measure. And here's what it had to say. It says, in this section 1, political matters means matters relating to elections for political office, political parties, candidates, proposed legislation or regulations. So let's say you have a business that has some kind of state government oversight, or there's some kind of regulatory agency that oversees what you do. You couldn't even mandate a meeting to talk about how new legislation or regulations may affect your business. That would technically be illegal now. So proposed legislation or regulations and the decision whether or not to join or support a political party or political, civic, communal, fraternal, or labor organization. There's your poison pill, folks. You want to get your employees together and discuss the benefits of becoming a Mason or an Elk or a Shriner? Couldn't do that. A communal organization, and I don't know exactly what that would mean, a community food bank. I mean, this thing is such a quash to free speech, and it really this really is purpose written to basically prevent employers from being able to have a counterpoint to their workers wanting to unionize. That's really what this is about. That's why the labor unions were the biggest drivers in this. They're the ones that were the biggest contributors to all this, because they could now organize, and the business owners cannot legally discuss it. I suppose it could be a voluntary meeting, But if you were going to have a meeting to say, hey, look, we want to, I want to talk to you about you guys are thinking about organizing, and let me tell you why, from my perspective, that's not going to work. I mean, this is a hot mess. But this was definitely the ugly. The other ugly for me was the loss of Ben Carpenter as a representative, because he lost the race when he ran for Senate, and he lost that race. So those are the two big the two big downsides for me. So it hasn't been all rainbows and kittens, and now we've got a new report coming out that the business as usual crowd in both the House and the Senate are wasting no time at all in getting things set. Leaders of the House and Senate said yesterday that they have already formed bipartisan majority caucuses to govern both chambers. Binding caucuses, I would bet real American dollars that they are not just caucuses, not just bipartisan caucuses, but probably binding caucuses as well. Tens of thousands of ballots, according to the ADN, remain to be counted, with final results in some tight races not expected until the 20th of November. But several legislators said they have enough information to be confident that bipartisan coalitions would be possible. The Senate has been governed by a bipartisan majority for the past 2 years, leaving 3 senators without any kind of representation, or, and basically disenfranchising the constituencies of those 3 senators. I'm talking about Shelley Hughes, Mike Shower, and Rob Myers. The legislature has seen left-leaning and centrist partisan coalitions by at least one chamber several times in recent years. According to a news release shared by Anchorage Democratic Rep. Zach Fields, key House leadership positions have already been decided. Bryce Edgmond is set to serve 3rd term as House Speaker. Kodiak Republican Louise Stutes is set to be chair of the House Rules Committee, which decides when legislation advances for a final vote on the floor. And the guy, Representative Chuck Kopp, who is now leading by 24 points in his bid against Craig Johnson, the incumbent, is set to be the House Majority Leader. Now, they've already said they've already got their priorities. Are you ready? They're ready for their priorities. Here are their priorities. We heard loud and clear Alaskans want us to fill police vacancies, provide outstanding public schools, and to grow our economy. Okay, I'm still trying to figure out how you're going to grow our economy and all this stuff. But their legislative priorities include balanced budget. They honor the % of market value spending cap, which means as long as they can take their 5%, they will spend it all. So your PFD, yep, that's going to be gone. Number 2, they want stable public education funding to reduce class sizes and to improve outcomes. So there's your 1,400s, your 14, 16, 16, 14, whatever that's the $1,500 BSA increase, which will mean an increase of $400 million out of the budget forever moving forward, because it's a formula-driven thing. It's automatic. Again, your PFD, gone. I mean, we're already in deficits based on the 10-year projections, doesn't even take into account a new BSA increase. That's another $400 million. So look at the governor's 10-year forecast and just tack another $400 million onto it every year for the next 10 years. Number 3, they want retirement reform for critical public safety, resource permitting, and other positions. This is the defined benefits. And this whole public safety thing is just a red herring. It's the nose under the camel's tent, because if they get it for public safety, then the teachers will get it. And then every other state employee, and even potentially some municipal employees, because they participated in the past. This could be 40,000 people being assigned to a new defined benefits program. And it costs about $1 billion a year for that. That's what the Reason Foundation, when they came in and did that presentation, it's upwards of $1 billion a year almost. even though they keep saying it's going to be cost neutral, or Cliff Grow told us it was going to save us money. We still haven't seen the true fiscal note, but analysis from Reason on other defined benefits plans and based on what Alaska had, they said it could be $9.2 billion over the next 10 years. PFD? Yeah, what PFD? And then finally, energy development to drive investment, create jobs, and lower costs. So they want to drive investment, but what do they want? They want solar power. They want, the Democratic Party has come out against Alaskan oil. They said that they want to stop oil production in Alaska. This is what they want. No. This is their priority. Okay. Stable public education funding, adopting retirement reform, and advancing energy development to drive investment, create jobs, and lower costs. Okay. All right. I mean, and that's just the House, my friends. That's just the House. So good luck with that. Oh man, the next 2 years are going to be a freaking train wreck. All right, we're going to be back with more. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Looks like Melody's on the line. We'll be back to her here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. We return with more right after this.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay. PFD says Mike Kronk will be zero. What have I been saying? Is this where I get to tell you I told you so? Is this where I get to tell you I told you so? Oh, man. All right. Let me go back over here. People don't read and they put stuff in there that doesn't belong. Okay. One of the favorite pundits, PG O'Rourke, notes that when politicians control buying and selling, the first thing bought and sold are politicians. All right. Everybody's willing to pay more. Everybody's in favor of tariffs in the chat room, apparently. Okay. Kevin says, Michael, you mentioned keeping promises. Republicans are in the minority for now. Kopp, Stutes, and Edgman have already formed a majority, so promises will be hard to keep. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Okay, he believes. Yesterday, the stock market was up 1,300 points. Yep. People don't read. Okay. I'm scrolling through here. Alaska is the laughing stock for the nation, says Gary, due to the time to call an election. There should be a time limit of end of day following the voting day for results to be certified. This 2 weeks is unsatisfactory. It's not even 2 weeks. It's almost 3. It's almost 3 weeks. We won't know until the 20th. That alone should make you want to repeal the whole ranked choice voting thing. That alone should be enough. Who came up with ballot measure number 1? The unions. That's who came up with it. Okay. Bill has some thoughts on this. Let's see. What? Biden just says just came over the news wire. Biden just announced he's going to place a limitation on drilling in Anwar. Well, that will automatically be reversed from his last minute decision here. Let me see what the news says. Biden, yep, it just came out. Biden, nope, that's the old one. Where's the new one? There we go. Hours after Trump win, Biden moves to limit oil drilling in Anwar. Yep. You saw that coming, didn't you? You saw that coming. Yeah, he's going to try and shut it down. It's a way to penalize us. Hold the line, Melody. We're getting close here. We're about a minute out. Melody's on the phone right now. Is this where I get to tell the answer isn't to tax us more? I mean, sure. I mean, you know, what is the answer? You tell me what the answer is. I want to know what the answer is. I don't know if it's taxes or not, but you know, you tell me. DJT said doing away with federal income tax could happen because of tariffs. Well, if you think that's actually going to happen, I mean, I have some waterfront property in Arizona that I'd like to sell you. I mean, really. So much for fiscal conservatives. Essential. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Melissa says that'll be all undone. I think she's talking about ballot measure number 1. We'll have to see what happens there. All right, we got to go. Phone lines are open. Melody's on the phone. I got other things to talk about, including the Senate organization. Let's get to it. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. Yes, let's go.
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Huh. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going down. Here's Michael Dukes and the show.
Okay, well, it's going to be interesting to see where things go from here. Let's go ahead and jump over to the phones. Looks like Melody is on the line. She's been holding on through the break there, so let's see what she has to say. Good morning, Melody. What's your thoughts post-election?
I agree with Bill. We're fooped.
We got
in the state.
We got a real problem.
I'm happy about the overall national election. I'm very happy about it. But I've got a question for your chat room, or for you. What is Project 2025? Does anybody know what Project 2025 is?
Project 2025 it's a white paper from the Heritage Institute where they said, you know, they're kind of like, we'd like to solve a bunch of problems in America. Let's come up with some ideas to lay all this stuff out. And so they created this report, this Project 2025 report that says, if we want things in America to be the way that we think they should be, here's all the things that should be done. And some were good ideas and some were not so good ideas. I didn't read the whole thing, but I read through the highlights and I'm like, okay, I could get behind some of this. Some of this stuff makes no sense and I would never support it. But it is basically a report or a white paper out from the Heritage Institute. You can go read it online. It's available online to go read.
Okay. It's not Trump's project.
No. Yeah, no, he had nothing to do with it.
So.
Yeah, no, he had nothing to do with it. They attempted to tie him to it because it's got some stuff in it, quite honestly, that I mean, I don't think he would even support. And I think he even came out and said he doesn't support some of those ideas. But somebody tried to tie him to it, and that got some steam in the media for a while. But obviously I haven't heard a 2025 thing in quite a while. But, somebody mentioned it in quite a while. But yeah, you can go out and read it. Just go Heritage Institute Project 2025 and it'll take you right to it. You can read it online.
Okay, I will do that. I appreciate your time. I've got, this has to do with gay rights. I have a friend that is concerned about still staying in the state, saying it's not going to be safe for them. And
I don't
I'm
know
just trying to convince her that just because Trump won the election, it's the states that have governance over same-sex couples and trans.
Yeah. Look,
not trans,
Alaska, look, of all the
lesbian
places,
rights and
yeah,
stuff like that.
of all the places in the country, Alaska is probably I mean, they were genning up so much fear about this kind of stuff. And I've heard the same things. I have a few
I know.
I've had a few acquaintances that are gay that are like, "Oh, I'm just worried." And I'm just like, "Dude, no, but here's the thing. In Alaska, I've never really met anybody who cared one way or the other, right? I mean, it's all about the fear.
Right.
Now, I can agree or I can disagree with your lifestyle or whatever and still find you to be a good person in many other ways. I'm not going to be burning crosses on your lawn or slashing your tires or do anything else.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot, it's much ado about nothing in those kind of things. And you hear that kind of language. "Oh, I'm in fear of my life." Why? I don't care. Well, I mean, you are the one that has to, and this is my opinion. You're the one that has to answer to the chair at the end, right? You're the one that has to stand before and justify what you did.
Amen.
It's not my job to
Yes.
judge you. It's my job to love you, through whatever you're going through.
That's right.
And to try and be an example. So
And that's what I'm trying to do. Is
exactly.
help her
So,
get through this where she's
well,
not
just tell her that that's a lot of hyperbole.
running.
Just tell her it's a lot of hyperbole.
Okay.
Alaska, I mean, I knew people when I was a teenager that this is back in the 80s, who were gay in Alaska, and it really didn't matter to most people. I never really, I don't think it matters. I don't think people care. I don't care what you do in your bedroom. You're the one that has to live your life and answer for your actions.
That's
So
my thoughts exactly.
go
But
to town.
I'm just trying to calm this young lady's mind and settle her because she's panicking right now.
Right.
So I appreciate your time. I'm sorry to get off topic in the chat room, guys. I appreciate everybody. I just need to be informed so I can clearly explain to her
Yep.
what everything means.
Yep. Well, there you go. All right.
I'm just
Well,
trying to help her out of a bad situation.
thank you, Melody. Appreciate you calling in and joining us this morning.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate your time.
Yep, you bet. 319-527-3864. Let's go back over here. Good morning.
Hi, Michael. This is James from Casino again.
Hey, James.
I wanted to apologize for whatever. I think I said a bad word. But anyway, yes, I'm a little disabled and slow sometimes, so bear with me. I am so happy for Ben and for Melody. I understand her fears. That's what is going on in the country. Is they work on our fears. They work on our morals and they work on our fears. And Ben actually said it the other day when he was on the air with you. He brought up the word communism. And that is what we're in. We're in the revolution state right now. But it doesn't mean we're going to have a shootout or anything. But they've been here for a long time. And, the gay thing, the only thing that's bad right now is the LGBT activists. This is after the gay marriage thing went through, they started in on the trans deal. And now they're mutilating all our kids and pushing it. And all the kids in school think they want to be this or that or that or this. I'm a boy, no. I'm a girl, no. I'm pansexual, no. And it's awful. I mean, Disney got it. It's just awful. And
yeah.
The people have got to do like what they did with Disney and what they did with Budweiser. And we do have to put a whole lot of these real criminals in Washington and around in jail. I know our Attorney General, when Trump was in office, said we don't want to do tit for tat. But Trump, the attack on Trump was a total lie.
Right.
And,
Well, I think what you're seeing is, I mean, like you said, with Ben and the pushback on, this idea of communism and everything else, I think the people have spoken. Again, I think people were surprised at how they kept saying it was going to be this close race, and it turned out not to be quite so close. And I think the people have spoken. They're speaking out against kind of these communal communistic ideas or ideologies. They're not buying what the Democratic Party is selling. I mean, we're taking back the Senate. It looks like we'll take back the House. We'll have Republican control of all three of both chambers and the presidency. So, I mean, I think that people are speaking out, and although there is a push from the elites to kind of have that more communal, socialistic, communistic type society or ideas, I think people are pushing back against it. And like I said, you can do whatever you want to do in the privacy of your own bedroom, whatever, but don't force it down everybody else's throats. That's where they go wrong on this. And I think that's with the things in the kids and the schools. That's a problem for sure. But I don't buy into this whole thing of people are now unsafe because we don't agree with you. We're not unsafe because we don't agree. You're not unsafe because we don't agree with you. We just don't agree with you. Nothing to do with unsafe. And don't try and force it down my throats to make what I believe wrong either. I'm not going to try and change your mind. I'm going to be the example and lead by example and do my best. Don't try and force it down my throat either. So anyway, appreciate it. Thank you, James. Let's go over here. Another call. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Brian, and I'm calling you from the privacy of my own kitchen.
Privacy.
While I'm standing here in my underwear waiting for the dryer to finish drying my clothes.
Yeah, there you
Don't
go.
Judge.
Don't marry your toaster, Brian. That's all I'm saying. I will take a stand on that. You shouldn't be able to marry your toaster.
No live, laugh, toaster bath. I'm going to do a quick guess to give you the dump on what I thought of the election. It didn't surprise me. The outcome did not surprise me in the least. I think the magnitude of the change, at least at the presidential level, that surprised me. I saw Harris going down about the time Joe started his mental decline, which was obvious, but in their Trump dementia syndrome, they started creating things, they started fabricating things, and they whipped themselves up into a righteous fury, and it became sort of a contagious thing. And in their sort of this berserker moment, they made a very, very bad decision, and that was picking Kamala Harris. Because of their rage, they picked Kamala Harris and assumed that this rage would carry through. It failed. They made a very, very bad decision. She's a horrible, horrible candidate. I'm happy with the outcome, sort of. Let's just say I'm less unhappy than I would have been had Kamala Harris prevailed. I think Trump was beatable. I think he was very beatable. If they had found a better candidate, but Harris was just a flat bad candidate. And one of the things that happens is the rage makes you do stupid things. And it's not just a left thing, it's not just a right thing. As soon as you start working yourself into this righteous fury, you do stupid things. And it's incumbent on us all to check our premises. I mean, we get fed all this crappy propaganda on through social media, through TV. It's just flat stupid. You get raging, you focus on the social media aspect, you don't get out, you don't visit your neighbors, you don't get out in the community and talk to people, you're going to do really, really stupid stuff. And that's my admonition to anybody.
Right.
Don't let your rage drive your action.
No, I mean, I agree. I think you're right. Remember how they started the whole campaign with this was a campaign of joy, 5 hours of talking about how joyful it was. And it wasn't 2 or 3 days later, they immediately started coming out, and it was the anger. And then Michelle Obama's speech about, men, your husbands are afraid of you and your power. And that's why they're pressing you down, and all this kind of crazy stuff of like, who is fomenting the fear? That's what they've been pushing on, is they've been pushing on the fear. I mean, that's why they kept saying that he was Hitler or this or that or the other thing. It all comes back to fear. And although fear is a good motivator in some ways for certain people in major elections like this, it doesn't always help, and it definitely doesn't make people make smart decisions.
No, never. It's you get in a fight. This is about being an adult, about controlling your emotions, about being rational. It's about thinking. That's the adult thing to do. And my admonition for Mr. Trump is to take a conciliatory tone. Work first on healing to the best of his abilities within his psychic makeup before he continues to throw red meat to his supporters. He's there now. He can fix things. He doesn't need to run anymore.
Right.
He doesn't need to keep throwing red meat.
Right.
I will take that also down to you, me, and the 50 or 100 people that are, that sort of are in my circle and your circle as far within the Dukes world. So anyway,
yeah, well, we can't.
You want to say?
Yeah, we can't let fear rule us, right? I mean, that's the thing. We can't let fear rule us, and this is why I've been saying, even before the election, whoever wins, we will still survive. We'll still be here. We'll still make it. It may be tougher or it may be easier, but we're still going to be here. We've got to stop living in that world of fear, and that's the downside of social media. And that's why people are so focused on the national stuff, because that's where most of the fear is coming from. But what you're affected most by is the stuff that's happening in your own backyard.
Exactly. Hey, before I let you go, or you let me go, however that works, I want to publicly say yesterday's closing monologue, perfect. Excellent. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. It was, it's from the heart. It's from the heart. We're going to make it one way or the other. I appreciate your participation as always. Thank you for calling in, Brian. It's good to hear from you, my friend. All right, folks, that's it for this segment. We got more coming up. One final segment dead ahead. The Michael Duke Show continues. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. If you want to call in, 319-527-3864. It's open line today. Tomorrow, Firearms Friday. A good one coming up. Chris Chang and the Pew Pew Jew on Firearms Friday tomorrow. Back with more right after this.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, we're in the break right now. I see one caller has just joined us. We'll get to that caller here in just a second. Thanks, Brian, for sounding off. I appreciate that, and giving us your thoughts on this. Richie just said, lady that called about claiming her friend as an example of the work we have to do is an example of the work we have to do as a people. It's up to all of us to dispel the bold and fear-mongering propaganda. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't agree with the gay lifestyle. I don't agree with it, but I am not here to judge people. I'm here to love them and to be an example. That's my personal philosophy, my personal belief. My relationship with God is that I just do the best that I can do, that I don't judge people. I love them through it. I can speak what my beliefs are. I'm not here to tear them down. I'm here to be an example. And I think this whole thing of, we're just not safe. We're just not that. Again, I've had friends who were gay and acquaintances who were gay for years. And it didn't matter to me one way or the other. It just didn't, I mean, they knew where I stood because I've never made it a secret. But I feel like we can make connections with people in all different kinds of ways. Why do we have to other people? Why do we have to other people? Like, oh, they're the other, they're the outlier, they're the, it always blows my mind. Again, I don't have to agree with you to love you. I don't have to agree with you to find some kind of common ground that we can do. I think where they've gone wrong is the fact that they try and force this down all of our throats through the point of a gun, through government coercion. That's where the problem is. Gay people have all the same rights that straight people have. They have all the same rights in almost every state, including marriage and everything else. So what's the real problem here? The problem is that fear motivates and fear sells, and so they will sell you a bill of goods that you should be afraid for your life because you're going to be killed on the streets or whatever it is that they say. That's the insane part. So, there you go. All right. Let me go over to the phone lines and get this caller's name and where they're calling from so that we can start the next segment with them directly here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Morning, Michael. Bubba from North Pole.
Okay, Bubba, you hold the line, my friend. You'll be first in the queue. Number one with a bullet. Richie says, my son is gay, and I love him regardless of the fact that I do not share the enthusiasm for the lifestyle. Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, Anthony said, it's not our job to make these people feel safe, nor is it feasible. If an election throws people into a paranoia-induced fever pitch, a mental health professional is needed, not me coddling these folks for their ideology. I'm not saying that you make them feel safe. I'm just saying you point out the falsity of what they're espousing. Nobody's trying to kill you. Nobody's trying to do any. It's crazy. Old Harry never ceases to not throw the verbal hand grenade when he can't. Oh man. All right. We kids descended from ranchers cannot figure out what the hullabaloo is about the poo word. Look, I mean, to me, I don't think it's that big a deal, but the FCC, they have other thoughts on it. Okay. We could think that it's a normal usage. And there's been a handful of times over the years where somebody slipped in a bad word on the radio. We've never really had a problem with it because usually I just cut the people off and we move on. But it's, it is what it is, Guys are out here like Trump is just going to yell, execute Order 66 on gay folks. I mean, that's the, I mean, we're kind of making fun of it, but that's really kind of what they're saying, right? That they're going to say that. And Trump, I mean, that makes no, yeah. Unless you're a squirrel in New York, then the state is not trying to kill you. I think is what Brian said. The state is not trying to kill you unless you're a squirrel. If you're a squirrel in New York, you're dead. You're dead meat. You are dead meat. Kevin said, I just heard paper shredders are sold out in Washington, D.C. Yeah, I could see that happening. I could see that coming down right now. Okay. Man, you guys ready? Let's do this thing. Ready to go. One final segment before another long day of work. Let's get to this thing. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do it all.
The Michael Duke Show. Seriously humorous with a pinch of intellect. Sorry. That is humorous. Here's Michael Dukes.
All right, one final segment here for the show this morning as we continue on. I'm still going to talk a little bit about the new organization of the Senate majority. Same as the old Senate majority, it seems like. I mean, there could be some changes, but I don't know exactly what's going to happen with that. But before we do that, let's go over to the phone lines. Bubba is calling in from North Pole. Hello, Bubba. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Michael. About 6-8 weeks ago, I heard some negative press on Sarah Vance, that she did something contrary to a right-wing conservative. I have no idea what it was, and I'm trying to understand, because Sarah Vance is one that she's definitely not in my district, or I'm not in her district, but is there what went on with Sarah Vance?
I don't know exactly what you're referring to, although I know that there's been a couple of the what we call the FACL organizations, the people who perpetrate conservative and conservative violence. I know that they had taken some stances on various things with people like Kevin McCabe and Sarah Vance over issues like a vote on. They tried to tie it back to a vote on abortion at one point. They tried to tie it back to a vote on gun rights on something. So I don't know specifically what you're referring to, but I vaguely remember something that there was one of those FACL organizations that Sarah wasn't just conservative enough for them on a vote or something. And that's what happens. Somebody votes for something or votes against a bill because maybe there's something good or there's something bad in it. And some organizations like, you're not pure enough. It's a purity test. You didn't vote for this bill.
I got you.
And that's that, so I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but I believe, if I recall correctly, it was something along those lines. Because Sarah Vance, probably one of the most conservative members of the legislature. I can't imagine why she would be how she would be ruffling the feathers of anybody, but probably one of these FACL organizations.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. One last thing. We got Lisa Murkowski, who came out and endorsed the Democrat, Mary Peltola, whatever, and she endorsed Mary Peltola. That's a Democrat. And Lisa is the Democrat in Republican clothing. We need to get rid of her, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say no to that. I wouldn't say no to that. She was working hand in glove with Biden. She is, and I've said this from the very beginning. I said this when Frank Murkowski appointed her. I said, she's not a conservative. She was a Republican in the state legislature, but look at her voting record. She's not a conservative. And I stand by that today. That's still who she is. She is a liberal Republican, if there is such a thing. She's a liberal Republican. She only has an R because that's how she has to get elected in this state. But again, over and over and over again, she has gotten back in with, when she beat Joe Miller in 2010. That was because the Democrats submarined their own candidate and got everybody to vote for Lisa. She's not a Republican. She's not what you would consider to be a true Republican.
We got rid of Mary. Let's get rid of Lisa.
There you go. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks, Bubba. Thanks for calling in and joining us today. All right. Well, let's take a final crack at here at what's happening in the legislature, because we've just talked about how the House majority is now formed already. Bryce Edgman's going to be Speaker. Louise Stutes is going to be Rules Committee Chair. And Chuck Kopp is going to be the House Majority Leader. They've already picked it. It's done, right? If everything falls out the way that they think it's going to fall out, that's the way it's going to be. 2 years ago, the Senate waited about 2 weeks after the election to form up their supermajority, which included 9 Democrats and 8 Republicans. This year, they've already announced it. They announced it yesterday. Even with early results that are unsure. So they are largely unchanged from last session. Gary Stevens is set to be the Senate president. This will be the 4th time, which is it's unprecedented, they say. 4th term as Senate president. Kathy Giessel is slated again to be the majority leader. Bill Wielechowski is going to be the Senate Rules Chair Committee. Bert Stedman and Lyman Hoffman and Donnie Olson are set to be the Finance Committee. Hoffman's going to be in charge of the operating budget. Stedman's going to be in charge of the capital budget. Olson will be in charge of the legislation that comes before the committee. Wielechowski said yesterday that the caucus has more than 11 members. Now, how many members is that? Nobody really knows. Shelley Hughes said she didn't know who would be part of the new caucus. It doesn't sound like they got a invite. Shelley Hughes and Mike Shower and Rob Myers doesn't sound like they got an invite to this. Kopp said he expected that the House majority will be larger than in recent years. Wielechowski said the newly announced Senate majority did not decide its legislative priorities at the Wednesday meeting, but you can probably be sure that it would have similar to the current caucus, which is increased education funding, a more generous retirement system, again, defined benefits, and probably the oil and the gas issue and the Cook Inlet. I mean, it's going to be a repeat. It's going to be interesting to see what happens because you've got Mike Kronk, who is now taken the seat that Click Bishop held. So that's one less. And you have Rob Yunt, who has taken David Wilson's seat, which will mean one less, right? So now you're down from 9 Democrats and 8 Republicans to 9 Democrats and 6 Republicans, if they both don't decide not to join the Senate majority. And then, of course, the one that's hanging out there is the Hajdukovic and Kawasaki race. Now, I don't know how that's going to play out. It's less than 1% right now. It's like what's the latest? Let me go back here. What is the latest? This was from 3 p.m. yesterday. So what is the latest in Senate District P? So here's the latest in Senate District P. Kawasaki is at 50.27%, and Hajdukovic is at 49.48%. So it's within, again, that same 0.75 percentile. And we're still waiting on absentees and the early voting from Friday to Monday. We're still seeing where they come out. Essentially, right now, there is about 90 votes separating the two. 90 votes. Out of 26,000 potential voters, there's 90 votes separating the two. And we'll see. We'll see where that ends up at. But she could win. More than likely at this point, it looks like if things don't change or break more towards her side, that he's going to win. But that's still going to leave us with a smaller Republican presence in a bipartisan coalition. What does that mean for us? Well, I think it's going to mean more spend, more government, less PFD. I think that's going to be a given at this point. Less PFD. I think that's what we should be expecting here in the near future. All right, folks, we're out of time. Tomorrow is Firearms Friday. We'll have the Pew Pew Jew, Yehuda Remmer here, as well as Chris Chang. Be kind, love one another, live well. Harry. Oh, Harry. Statistically, it's very improbable that Mary will win with ranked choice voting. Sorry, Harold. That's not how it works. It's statistically very probable that she is going to lose. So there you go. Don't forget, she said she would switch parties if Trump won again. Did she say that? I missed that. If that's the case. All right. Going through here. That's it. We are out of time. Oh, man. That's it right there. Kevin McCabe, is it a majority when those three are really Dems? Asking for a friend. Well, a majority can be made up of anybody from any party. They just got to decide and vote. That's how it works. You know, they could be really Dems anyway and still have a majority. Yeah. All right. Well, it's coffee time. I'm going to head out, have myself some delicious beard curler, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Again, be kind, love one another, live well. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.
Goodbye.